Hey guys, it's KJ from For Life Coaching with another segment of interviews with former NCAA athletes, stories, and their stories of triumph. So I'm here today with Dr. George Koonce, the Dr. George Koonce. He is a doctor, meaning like PhD doctor, and he is also a Super Bowl champion. Yes, he played with the Green Bay Packers in the 31st Super Bowl. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Koonce. So Dr. Koonce, he went to West Craven High School in New Bern.
Vanceboro, North Carolina, same thing, Craven County.
So wait, Vanceboro's got to be small if you don't.
Very small, very small.
Wow. So is it one of those places where, everybody knows your name?
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So he's from Vanceboro. While he was in Vanceboro, his mom encouraged him to play Pop Warner football.
Yes.
So he went, yes?
Yes.
So he went from Pop Warner football at age 9 to graduating from West Craven High School, and then on to, I couldn't find anything on West Craven High School. I was trying to find some of your stats there, but I couldn't find it. Maybe I'm losing my touch.
Yeah, no, I was okay in high school, but I kind of found myself after I got into college and made my way into the NFL.
So, Cal, were you okay in high school and you made it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
a late developer. I'm a late bloomer. Let's say it like that.
The story gets more interesting, guys, right? Okay. So then he graduated from high school. He went to Chowan College.
Mm-hmm.
At Chowan, his freshman year, he accomplished 131 tackles. He played in the East Bowl, right? And not only did he play in the East Bowl, but his team won 50-7 in the East Bowl Conference. He was the Coastal Conference Player of the Year.
Yes.
And All-American honors.
Yes.
Okay. Afterwards, he went to ECU, the East Carolina University Pirates. While there, at ECU, he scored 107 tackles, 59 solo tackles, 18 tackles for 99-yard loss, and 2 times he scored 12 tackles in one game.
Yes.
Okay. And he is with the East Carolina University Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry, at Chowan University?
Yes.
Chowan University, October 15th, they actually had a Dr. George Koonce Day.
Yes, they did.
And October 15th also happens to be his birthday. So he's a Libra like me, so he's cool. After graduating from East Carolina University, he received a tryout opportunity. He was drafted, received a tryout opportunity with the Atlanta Falcons. He was there, and he went from that tryout opportunity to playing for the Ohio Glory in the World League for a year. Yes. Mm-hmm. While there, during that time, he received a call, right? Not just any call, right? Not like, hey, how you doing? A call from Ron Wolf, former Hall of Famer, or a Hall of Famer. And he said, hey, look, why don't you come try out for the for the Green Bay Packers. And Dr. Koonce made the most of that opportunity. And he wound up actually playing for the Green Bay Packers for 8 years, am I correct?
8 years in Green Bay and 1 year in Seattle.
For 8 years. And during those 8 years, he in 1994, he led in total, he led in total 119 and 78 stops. And that was where he had the season high of 12 tackles 2 times in a game. He then went on he played in the 31st Super Bowl, as I mentioned once beforehand. And then he went on to play for the Seattle Seahawks. During that time period, he had 11 concussions and 7 surgeries, which were part of his deciding to retire. Post NFL, but just because he retired from football doesn't mean he retired. He just amped it up a little bit more. So post high school, he received his PhD in sports marketing from Marquette University. He is one of only 2 Green Bay Packers in its 100-year history to receive a doctorate. Receive their doctorate. He is the co-author of "Is There Life After Football? Surviving the NFL?" One of his favorite quotes is by Mark Twain: "Each one of us has the substance within to achieve whatever goals or dreams are defined." He is a member of the NFL Player Engagement Advisory Board. He is a senior vice president of the Office of University Relations at Marian University. Can you imagine how long it takes to write that on a business card? That's a long title.
It is.
He's an on-air personality at the Green Bay Packers CBS affiliate Backstage with George Koonce, and he is also he also has the Locker Room Locker Room show. There was something I saw when I researched you, but I cannot find it anymore. And it is, you were asked to be a board member of some type of inclusion program or something.
Well, yeah, it's like Wisconsin. We have a diversity inclusion summit, and I was asked to be one of the co-chairs. It was 4 individuals, and I was asked, and we have over 1,000 participants each year to talk about diversity inclusion and challenges that one may face in America, in our communities.
And this is for the state of Wisconsin?
Yep, for the state of Wisconsin. We ask public and private institutions to attend or to send individuals to learn about this issue of diversity and understanding. So,
at the university level?
Nope, across the state. It's a state level.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I found it when I was doing my research, and then I wrote it down, and I couldn't find the card that I wrote on because I write everything on flashcards. And I was like, gosh, I meant to ask him that. So anyway.
It's called Towards One Wisconsin.
Yes. That was it. That was what I saw. So as you can see, guys, he is just a phenomenal person and has a lot to share with us. So welcome, Dr. Koonce.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So I wanted you to tell me a little bit about your journey. Tell me about your journey. I wanted to find out how the whole Pop Warner football came about. Were you sitting at home bored and mom said, hey, look, you got to do something with your time? Or did you ask mom, or what was going? How did this all come about?
Well, basically it was sort of like you just said, two fathers in our community back in Eastern North Carolina. Like you said earlier, I grew up in New Bern, North Carolina. And these two gentlemen said that they wanted to start a Pop Warner team for the youth of the community. And the word spread throughout the community. And my mom said, well, you're going to play because there are so many other things that you can get involved in. And I want you to be involved with something constructive. So I didn't really like football in the beginning, but the more I played, the more I was around my friends, I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with it so much. I had a dream that I wanted to use football as a vehicle to see the world, and I was able to do that.
Wow. What would you say football gave to you at that time? Why did you fall in love with it? What was so powerful?
It was simple. I had a chance to be around my friends. I wanted to feel like I was a part of something. And football kind of gave me that at that age. And it built upon that as I got older and as I continued to play. I had a chance to be around men and guys, and we was doing guy stuff and boy stuff. So it was fun. It was really fun. I really didn't care if I had a tackle or a catch. All I wanted to do was just run around and be around my friends.
You know, I have 2 sons with autism, and my older son's name is Jay. And when he was younger, I wanted him. My daughter was involved in, ballet and drum lessons, and she just did everything. And my younger son, Jay, like I said, because he was autism, people always talked about the limitations. So I signed him up for Pop Warner football where we live. And I went to every practice with him. And I was on the ground, doing everything that they did, I did because Jay mirrored me. Like whatever I would do, he would mirror it. And the fact that I don't want to cry. The fact that the football players there, there were some of them were the same age, and you had the coaches, they would all be like, "Good job," and high five him and that kind of stuff, because it was obvious that he was autistic, and I was the only parent out there, me and mom on the ground doing all the stuff and playing catch and doing the stretches with him. But you could just see how elated he was that he had friends and
Right.
that he was accepted. And it was not, he wasn't labeled autistic. He was just Jay, So
It was fun. I have very fond memories of playing Pop Warner and playing with my friends. It was phenomenal, and to be able to go from that and then go and play for an organization like the Green Bay Packers, it was truly a dream come true.
So did your friends push you along? Did you have friends with the same exact dream, or was it just your dream to get ahead? I mean, did you guys talk about it afterwards? You ever going to do this? We're going to train, etc.
Well, I kind of kept that dream to myself at 9 years old, but all of us at that age was just trying to be the best teammate and have fun. Winning games, I don't think we really didn't talk about that a lot. We just talked about playing, because this was the first time we've ever had, and at that time, Pop Warner in our community. So it was kind of new, and was trying to learn this sport called football, learn how to play. We used to play in our backyards, and play at recess at school, but we never played with referees. So it was kind of a learning process for all of us. And I don't think we were talking about during practice or during games or rides to practice during those Pop Warner years about playing in the NFL or anything like that. I think when I went back home at night after practice, and and watching Monday Night Football, and watching the announcers and the skylines of the cities that the games were about to be played, that's when it came to me. I would love to play at the highest level, and I didn't get a chance to meet a professional football player in person until I was competing against one in the locker room. So I went from 9 years old to 23 years old without ever meeting a professional football player. So it was truly a dream and an aspiration.
So who's encouraging you along the way? Like, is it all self-motivated, or are there, or is a coach saying, "Look, I could see you doing more," or your mom or friends, or is it somebody in the fans that's screaming, cheering for you, that you're like, you know what, I can do it. Like, as long as I got them behind me, I can do it. What was the extra?
It was a culmination of a lot of different things. First of all, I wanted to do it because I knew that they couldn't do it for me. But I had an ecosystem of support. My mom, my dad, my neighbors, my friends' parents, the coaches, the church that I attended, the pastor, the deacons, the mothers of the church. It was very, very supportive of all of us playing sport, doing something, trying to do something positive, and trying to be the best at it.
How important was it for you to see them in the fans, like in the stands, like during the home games or the away games? Like, do you think it had any kind of extra boost?
Oh, in those early years of playing Pop Warner, most definitely, because I spent the majority of the time looking around. It was new. It was all new. So I'm looking in the stands, trying to see if my brother was in the stand, or if he was under the bleachers playing. I'm looking for my mom, my sisters. So it was a very new experience, but exciting, a very exciting experience all at the same time.
So you're in high school, right? And you're thinking about playing football, because you had that dream when you were 9 years old. You're thinking about it, and you're looking at your classmates who may be going to some of the larger schools with football scholarships or etc. But you're not getting that opportunity. How are you still holding on to that dream, saying, I can do it, even though I don't have it now, I can do it?
Well, I think that was something that was embedded by my dad and my mom and my grandma, my family. You know, I was very supportive of my teammates, and like you said, I didn't have a lot of offers coming out of high school, but I just believed in myself, and I believed and I trusted my family, my mom, my dad. You know, I believed that what they was telling me was true.
What were they telling you?
Hard work and believing in yourself will take you as far as you want to go.
So did you then put in more hours? Did you start to practice more? Did you change who you practice with? I mean, how did you change?
Well, I had to, first of all, I had to make a stronger commitment in the classroom, because early on I was trying to balance playing football and being a student, and my grades wasn't the best. So I got an opportunity to go to Chowan College. It's called Chowan University. Now it was a 2-year college at the time. And I went there and I said, I'm gonna commit myself to be the best football player I can be and be the best student I can be. And it worked out. I grew, I got better at playing football, became one of the better players in the league, one of the better players on my team. And I got an opportunity to go to East Carolina University and got a chance eventually to go to the NFL and played in over 128 games, started 118, and went to 2 straight Super Bowls. We won one and we lost one. But that dream, one thing about football or any sport or any career, it's going to come to an end at some point. In the National Football League, the average football player plays about 3.5 years. I was lucky to play 9 years in the NFL and 1 year in the World Football League, so a total of 10. So I beat the average, but it was devastating once I wasn't able to play the sport anymore. So I had to try to.
What does devastating look like?
I would say depression, isolation, denial.
Denying what?
Denial.
Denying what? What are you denying?
I was denying that I'm just a regular. I'm a citizen. I'm part of the community. I didn't want to leave that identity that I was one time a student athlete, at one point a professional athlete. I wanted to stay in that bubble, but that bubble had burst, and I had to now transition into being a productive citizen, and that took some time.
So how did it burst? Did it burst for you immediately, or was it a gradual burst? Like, did you gradually leave some of those friends? Did you gradually leave that environment? Did you gradually transition to something else? Or was it like, boom, you're not playing anymore, so you're not going to practice, you're not going to the after hour social, you're not going to this? I mean, was it gradual, like 1, 2, 3, 4 things coming off? Or was it all of a sudden like just like rip it off with like wax paper?
It was kind of like a Band-Aid. Some of us, we try to take it off slow, but it was kind of snatched off. And because I didn't get a phone call, I wasn't offered a contract. When my contract expired for the Seattle Seahawks, nobody else called.
How long were you waiting? How long were you waiting for the call to come?
I waited 2 years for that call to get another phone call from when I was 32. I didn't get the phone call. Let's say that Band-Aid was ripped off when I was 32 years old. And I still had aspirations to play. And I waited, I trained, waiting for that phone call for 2 years. and it never came. And I said, well, I think it's time to move on. And I moved on.
So during those two years, are you still socializing with Green Bay Packers? Or are you developing a new set of friends, or what's your social life, or how's your social life complementing your working out? Are you working out a boatload of hours? Like,
yep, I was working out a boatload of hours, but for as a friend, or for as friends in a social environment, I didn't have one. I was more isolated, and that's where the depression and all those things come in.
and what's your family saying at this time?
I could tell they was worried. They was worried because for someone that was outgoing, talkative, very social, now he's quiet. They could tell I was unsure of the future. I was questioning myself if I was a failure or a success. But I was looking at it on a very narrow, short-term basis. I didn't look at it from a 30-foot view, because if you look at my total body of work, if you look at it from a playing, being a professional athlete or student athlete, my total body of work, it was pretty good. No, nothing about my career was a failure, but I thought it was. And I had to come to grips that it wasn't. And it's interesting now to look back and to see what I was going through. But I'm glad I got through that storm, and I'm glad I'm able to help other student athletes and professional athletes to avoid what I was going through. Because I think I talked to over 1,000 former players when I was writing my book, the one that you mentioned earlier, Is There Life After Football? And the majority of them said that they spent 2 or 3 years after their last game trying to get back into the NFL, and they was isolated as well. They isolated themselves and was going through the whole depression, denial, and all that. But it was an interesting period.
So I was going to say two things. One, it's really interesting because in the beginning you told me that your focus was using football as a vehicle to see the world, right?
Right.
So sometimes what happens when we change occupation or change venue, we forget our purpose. Remember, you said your purpose was to use football to see the world. So
right.
you may have thought contextually that was traveling the world, but guess what? When you interviewed those 1,000 people, you had an opportunity to see the world, a world of people, different backgrounds, different experiences, different stories, different talents, different interests. So you had an opportunity to see a world and bring a world to your audience when they read your book.
Right.
So you never lost sight of the purpose or your initial goal. You're actually walking even deeper in it because it has a personal touch, a long-lasting touch. People can pick up the book and read it forever, and it can actually change lives. It can change, perspectives.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, during that 2 to 3 year period that you mentioned beforehand, that it seemed to be a common thread, what would be your recommendations to reduce the impact of that 2 to 3 year period of isolation? What can people do proactively? So for instance, if the average lifespan of a professional football career is 3.5 years, right? So let's say that's up to age 24.
Right.
Do you think that maybe age 20, before you go into the NFL, before you start the career, that maybe there should be some preparation or continuation of how to continue to move forward year to year?
Right. I think that my advice would be to have multiple interests in a lot of different things. It's okay to like football and basketball, but it's okay to like music as well. I think the more things that you're involved in, if something would have happened, let's say you're an injury or what may have you, you have another opportunity. When we get isolated and get plugged into one identity, we're setting ourselves up for a letdown. That's why when I talk to those, let's say over 1,000 former players, they all said one common thing to me. They said, George, when I left the sport, it felt like a part of me died.
Mm.
So that's when I started studying Elisabeth Kübler-Ross, and she's the sociologist from the University of Chicago who did the study on death and dying. So a lot of my teammates and a lot of players and a lot of student athletes, when their career comes to an end, they go through the same different stages that one may go through when they lose a brother or a mom or auntie or a friend. They're going through those different 5 steps of grieving. Those, so.
I was a deaconess at my church, and I worked with, bereavement. And so I understand the phases, I understand the follow-up, from that perspective of what you're suggesting.
Right.
One of the persons that I interviewed, I was talking to him, and he said that everybody says that they know me. Everybody from college says that they know me. He said, they know my stats. They know how I did in a game. They know, maybe what happened during practice, but they don't know me. And I found that interesting that he was saying, as an athlete, everybody says that they know him, but they don't know him. Like, they don't know, hey, how are you doing today? Hey, what's going on? How's your dog? What's your dog's name? What's your, blah, 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 blah. Did you ever feel that when you were playing professionally, that people knew you from an external, standpoint? So when you left that arena, now people would have to know you from a more intimate, or, have to know more personal details, or, you know what I mean? Have a different type of conversation with you.
I understand what the gentleman was saying, that they didn't know him, because we are basically, we're in a bubble for the most part. I can say I stayed in Green Bay for 8 years. I didn't necessarily live in Green Bay, maybe 2 different things. I stayed, living is probably being a part of the community, right? Going to Rotary, being a part of your church community, going to PTA meetings. But as a professional athlete, it was all, they say professional athlete, you're professional. It was a business. And the majority of my time was trying to be the best player I could be, because we knew it was all about production. And if your production started to slide, there was a great opportunity that your position on the team would slide as well. So a lot of guys focus so much time trying to be the best player, best teammate they can be, because they know that margin of error is very, very small. And so after my playing days was over with, and I got that out of my system, I said that football is just a vehicle for me to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure I can make a difference in other people's lives.
So do you think that your conversations and your affiliations had more depth to them after football? You know what I mean? Yeah. People had to know you on a different level. Like, they couldn't just know that you scored X number of touchdowns in a game, etc. The conversations had to be a little bit different.
Right. My neighbors, I wouldn't say my neighbors in Seattle or Green Bay knew me all that well, but my teammates did because I spent a wealth of time with them. So, but one thing about the locker room, it really showed me how to build relationships with individuals, genuine relationships with people, and it taught me how to trust people. Because one thing about playing a sport like football, you have to be able to trust one another because you
Because your
can't.
life is,
Right.
I was gonna say, your life is in each other's hands.
Right. So you have to be able to trust your D linemen, you know, the cornerbacks, the safeties. You know, the quarterback has to be able to trust his offensive linemen and tight ends and wide receivers to catch the football. So football is built on trust. So I was able to learn that skill set to learn how to build genuine, strong relationships.
So how do you change the conversation? How do you change the conversation from football to building relationships? How did you venture out? Like, what was that thing that made you say it, it's time to do something different. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make an impact in this arena. What was that thing, or what was that transition, or how did you do it, or who helped you? Like, if you were to give a couple of things of advice or suggestions to listeners.
Well, I think you're for a lot of people, it's their, for older guys, it's your significant others, your parents. Just listen, just listen to them. A lot of times, they've been talking their entire time. You just have to make it. They've been in your ear offering good advice. It's just that when are you ready to hear it? There was a lot of things when I was in college or high school or in NFL that I wasn't ready to hear at that time. I was listening, but I didn't really hear what they were saying.
So there were layers that you had to remove to be ready to hear. Is that what it is?
Yes, and I think that's called, a maturation process. I think we all are growing and developing. Because I wish, I could speak to myself now. If I was 23, I would have the type of advice I would have for myself now would be totally different. If I was 15, speaking to a 23-year-old George. So I think in life we continue to build and learn from one another, learn from our experiences and our mistakes.
So if you went through this period of a low depression, things were a little bit more challenging. When did you start to laugh again? When did you start to, feel like I'm in it? This is fun. This is exciting. Because one thing that depression does is takes away your joy.
Right, it does. When I realized that football piece is gone, it's over with, and saying, you know what, that was just an experience, a part of me, and I had a great time participating in it. But I think that the changes I can make in my community and in life is going to be much bigger than running around on the football field or being in a locker room. So once I got that out of my system, kind of refocused and said, you know what, let me get my education. Let me kind of not reinvent myself, but kind of polish off myself a little bit and brush things up a little bit, refresh, and and make some things happen. Really make some changes in the community, because I think we all want to make our community much better than in which we found it, in which we came through it. So that's my goal.
Wow. Wow. What do you say to young people today?
Have fun, because it's going to go by so fast. Have fun, enjoy the moments. When you have success, celebrate. The one thing a lot of me and my teammates didn't do, we didn't celebrate, not the jumping around, the doing cartwheels or backflips on the field. We didn't celebrate with one another. We didn't celebrate each other. Because after a win or a loss, we was in the same mode. Get that out of your system, whether you win or lose, and get ready for the next game. Whereas you should sit and talk about it, not dwell on what happened last game, but if it was successful, you should think about it, because all of it's going to be gone short in due time. Like I said, like we talked about, an NFL career, 3.5 years, the average. So it's going to go by quicker than your college career for the most part.
When my mom was alive, she used to take pictures of everything. I'd be like, oh, please not another picture. Why? Right? And in some pictures you can see I have that like, why are you taking a picture face? And the thing is now when I look back at, the pictures that she took, it just brings back so many memories. Like, I'm like, oh my God, they were there and this was going on and that was going on. So even in celebrating the moment, the selfies, the taking a picture of the moment, that time and space, so that once again, you can remember what joy looks like. You can remember what happiness looks like. You can remember, you have a comparison. If you take a picture today and it's not, and your face is not, whatever, and you can look at that picture where you were happy, you can say, hey, look, you know what, I've got an opportunity. And so I was just going to say, today with everybody taking selfies and pictures all the time, my mother would be in heaven. Well, she is, but she'd be super duper excited here because everybody's taking selfies. But another way of just celebrating the moment and getting excited about where you are here today. So going from the locker room to the boardroom.
Wow, that was interesting, because when I was playing sport, I had no idea. I wasn't really cognizant of the functions of a board of a company, whether it's IBM, Google, Facebook, Chevrolet, Ford, the board of trustees at UNC Chapel Hill, or the board of trustees at East Carolina University. I wasn't really tuned in or plugged in to the work that they were doing. But as my career was winding down, I was being introduced to some individuals that I said, wow. And it was kind of the definition of what boards are and the work. I said, that would be something that I would like to try to do. And like I said earlier, I'm on the board of the Green Bay Packers, which is a publicly traded, not a publicly traded, it's a community-owned team. I'm on the second largest healthcare system in Wisconsin, Ascension Healthcare. They do about $6 billion. I'm on an insurance company board. I'm on the Nature Conservancy, the preservation of land and water. It's an international organization. Every state has a chapter. North Carolina has a very strong and vibrant Nature Conservancy board. So I love trying to help from the inside. It's hard to make change. It's hard to make changes to a menu if you're standing on the porch and everybody's in the kitchen. If you're able to get into the kitchen, I think you have a chance to have a say, to make change.
I'm stealing that.
That's cool.
I'm quoting you and I'm stealing that. Did you get that quote from somebody else?
It's just life. It's just experiences. Growing up in Eastern North Carolina, being on the porch, looking into the house. When my mom used to tell me, my grandma used to say, go outside and play.
While we talk.
While we talk and while I cook. So I had no idea what we had for dinner until they called us in to eat. So, but I know for its decisions that's being made from different organizations and nonprofits, you don't want to be outside waiting for them to come out and make decisions. And they're already on the inside putting it together. So I think that makes sense to you. And I think that's vital for our community to know that get involved, get on those boards, build those relationships. Because if I can go from the locker room to the boardroom, you can go from your sorority, fraternity, to being on the board of Duke Energy, being on the board of Red Hat, being on the board of Western Carolina, or App State, or North Carolina A&T, or St. Augustine, or Shaw University. Be on their board of trustees, making differences, making policies, helping to make change in our community and make change at those institutions that you love so much, that pulls at your heartstring.
Wow, powerful.
So I'm gonna have to go pretty soon. So
you can go. I just want to ask you one thing. What do you do for fun?
I try to read. I try to read because I think that being a student athlete, we all know that you have to eat properly and train your muscles. And we all know that our brain is a muscle, and the best way to work it is to read, to move it around, make it stronger. And with those concussions that I've had from playing the sport, the more I read, the better I feel. It's going to be the better for the longevity of my health, for me personally and for my family. But I want to thank you, Kelly, for all the great work that you're doing. And thank you for being the matriarch of your family. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. And I look forward to seeing your research and all the great work that you're doing across our community, across this country. Thank you so very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll be back in touch with you soon, George.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thank you.